Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. For today I was thinking we could be painting some pine trees. I had requests from a couple of you to do some pine trees to show you how I paint them. Even though I did paint them in a couple of paintings, they were pretty small, so this time I decided to do some pine trees, and we will be painting in some brown shades, so not really using too much colors. Some raw sienna, sepia and Mars brown, those are actually all some brownish colors. So let's get started. I started off with pre-wetting the entire paper, and afterwards I'm using raw sienna to paint in the sky. And this time we won't be painting actually land, it will all be sky, so the lower part will be a little bit lighter with the white part peeking through where our sun is shining, and the parts around it will be a little bit darker. And the lowest part of the sky I will be painting in raw sienna, that's the lightest color. Then the middle part in Mars brown, a little bit darker color, darker brown, and then the upper part will be painting in sepia, it will be darkest. Also I will be using some Mars brown and some sepia in lower parts, because I don't want just the blob of raw sienna in one part, blob of Mars brown other part, and sepia third part. I do want them to mix a little bit, so I will mix them here and there, but mostly the colors will be, as I said earlier, lightest in the bottom, in the middle part a little bit darker, and darkest in the upper part. And I'm not painting in any clouds, I'm just using my largest brush and adding some horizontal strokes to paint in the clouds. Afterwards, when the paint completely dries, I will be using a smaller round brush. This is, I think, number 4, to paint in the pine trees. And as you can see, I'm just painting the tree trunk and then just wiggling my brush here and there to paint in the branches. And I'm not really trying to paint them to be symmetrical on both sides, but on the one side one branch is upper and the other side lower, so I'm just wiggling my brush, doing some liney strokes. And also I'm painting in some foliage on that pine trees, also not really connected to the tree trunk but just a little bit disconnected. I think it gives it a little bit more believability, maybe. I think it looks better. That's I guess how I do it. So when I was painting those shorter ones that are actually far from us, further in the distance, a little bit lighter with Mars brown, and as I'm going outwards to the edges of my painting, I'm painting them a little bit darker. But also when I painted them in Mars brown, just in the middle part I've added a little bit of sepia to make an impression that there are some shadows and darker parts of our pine trees. As the pine trees get a little bit bigger, you have to, of course, make them also a little bit more detailed. So I am painting the branches not actually anymore just as lines, but I'm just tapping in with the tip of my brush. I'm tapping in those branches on one side and also on the other side, still making some parts to be a little bit disconnected, and the middle part again painting the darkest. I also did a couple of splatters in Mars brown, and when I finished with it I noticed that my sky is a little bit too light for my pine trees, so I decided to add a little bit more of sepia to that upper part. And this time I did not pre-wet the paper, but I just used it with a larger round brush that can hold quite amount of water, and I did not pick a lot of pigment also, and just added to the upper part. And when I added, I wiped with a tissue paper just beneath the part where that wet part ends, because I don't want the harsh lines, so this is the way to avoid those harsh lines. And also I added a little bit more color in a lower part because it was too light behind those pine trees. And at the end, I also added a little bit more of those pine trees, and this time I did not paint them full and complete. I did not paint the tree trunks, but just added those wiggly lines, just making the impression that there are some more pine trees somewhere, maybe in the background. So not really trying to paint the entire pine tree, but just added a couple of those branches too, maybe some of them that are further away from us. And again, the sky was, when dried, too light for me, so I've added another layer of that clouds, of that sepia and Mars brown, just the same way as I did previously. Tapped in some colors, some pigment, and at the end used a tissue paper to wipe that part where those lines ended, because again I don't want a harsh line, and this is actually also the way to achieve some texture in the sky, you know, just to achieve that look that there is just so many clouds in the sky, and that those clouds are quite thick. And with that, I'll be finishing off this painting and of course this video. Thank you guys a lot for watching, for supporting me. If you like this video, please hit the like button, share it, comment, and if you haven't still, please subscribe to my channel. It would really mean a lot to me. And without further ado, I hope I'll see you next time. Bye!